Hello friends, I am Guninder Sidhu. Today we are going to talk about a masterpiece of world literature. That is novel named as Siddhartha. Originally it was written in Germany but translated into various languages. It is written by Hermann Hesse, who got Nobel Prize for Literature in 1940s. This novel is about a spiritual journey of a young man. And the setting is of India of the time of Gautam Buddha. Though the name is Siddhartha, but the main character is not Gautam Buddha. Though he gets one encounter with Gautam Buddha, but his journey is totally different. And he is very charismatic, enigmatic, a mystic kind of person. Very interestingly, his spiritual journey is without any gloss, without any cosmetics. It is very raw, human journey. Siddhartha suffers from several flaws. He has a very doubting mind. But still he is so authentic, so honest about his own flaws, his own doubts, that it takes him to the level of superlative. Osho has very interestingly stated that there are two kinds of spiritual persons. One is of devotional who have very strong faith. They believe in things from the heart. They think from the heart. They are feeling types. And the other is of thinking from the head. Very rational, logical, and they need to be convinced for accepting everything. They are a kind of non-believer spirituals. And if you ask anyone that what kind of spiritual you are, then the more than 99.9% will say that we are devotional kind of persons. But I tell you that only the contrary of it is right. In modern world where our unconscious is too much dominated by science, we all are logical persons. We need to be convinced for believing something. And Siddhartha has this kind of character. He is a non-believer. He is doubt-ridden person. He needs to be convinced for accepting anything. Though he surrenders, but he tests everything. He has his own methods of trials and of judging everything. But in the nutshell, he needs to be convinced. So in this way, Siddhartha is very modern man. And I feel that even I am very close to Siddhartha, because I also consider myself as a non-believer spiritual. So this novel is a journey of a non-believer spiritual. The story unfolds like that Siddhartha is a young man with very supple body, and he knows he is a son of Brahman. He has already attained a great levels of spirituality. He can utter Om by doing experiments with his breathing. And his father he has great hopes from Siddhartha. He feels that my son has a great future. His mother is also very fond of him. They live by looking at him. So far it looks perfect, but it is not. Siddhartha, he has very anxious mind. He feels that whatever he reads about nirvana, about truth, the ultimate peace, he's not getting that one. He decides to undertake his own journey, where he can learn himself, where he can experience the things himself, not through the texts or Veds or mantras. He has come to know that in a nearby forest, very dense forest, there is a sect of shamans, ascetic persons, who try to attain spirituality by torturing themselves. And Siddhartha has a very hardcore friend, Govind, who always follows Siddhartha. And he tells Siddhartha that we are going to join the sect of Shermans. But his father is against that thing, because he feels that they are the Brahmins and they are not supposed to undertake that journey of an ascetic where they torture their bodies. But Siddhartha is adamant. And one day he says to his father that I need your permission. Father says that I can't give you the permission. He says that I will leave, but not without your permission. Father says then you have to wait for long, because I am not going to give you the permission. It is a scene of night and they are standing in a hut. And father says that no, I am not going to give you the permission, and he goes to his bed to sleep. But Siddhartha, he keeps standing there. And father, obviously, he gets a very restless sleep. And when the sun is about to rise, from the light that comes even before the sun, the father sees that his son Siddhartha is still standing there. And he realizes that actually his son is already gone. Only his body is standing there. So he goes there and gives permission to Siddhartha. But he says one thing. He says that if you get enlightened, please come back to me and share your experience with me. Even if you get disillusioned, even then you are most welcome to come back. With this permission, Siddhartha leaves his village and joins the sect of Shermans. There he tortures his body because he wants to see what is beyond suffering. He remains hungry for 1 week, then for 2 weeks, even for the 4 weeks. He is considered as a very worthy disciple because he is following all the instructions religiously. But as I've told that he has a doubting mind. One day he feels that this self-torture is not leading him to any way. He feels that the head of the sect, he is already 60 or 70 years old and he is still full of anxiousness. He is full of anxiety and he has not got that ultimate peace. So he decides to leave. But Govind, who is following him, Govind says that this sect is not going to leave you. They will not give you permission to leave. But Siddhartha says that I will manage. When he appears before the head of the sect, the head gets angry. But Siddhartha, because he has attained heights of spirituality, he hypnotizes the head. The headman, he starts shivering. He feels that he's being controlled from the inside. So in that phase, he gives permission to Siddhartha to leave. So when they are leaving, Govind says that you should have stayed here because you are able to hypnotize that headman. If you had stayed longer, then you would have been walking on the water. Siddhartha says that I'm not interested in these frivolous tricks. My journey is different. So Govind and Siddhartha, they leave. And on their journey, they meet Gautam Buddha, who is giving his sermon in a forest area. Govind, he gets so impressed by the presence of Gautam Buddha that he decides to be the follower of Gautam Buddha. But Siddhartha says no. I am not going to follow Gautam Buddha. Even he goes and talks to Gautam Buddha face to face. He says very beautiful thing to Gautam Buddha. He says that you can give your teachings to your disciples, but you can't experience the experience of enlightenment. You can't share that experience with anyone. And I am seeking that experience of enlightenment, which only I can experience. So he says goodbye to Gautam Buddha and leaves for his journey alone without Govind. Now when he leaves, he gets some impressions of Gautam Buddha. He feels the aura of Gautam Buddha and he feels that he himself is liberated. For the first time, he feels himself as Siddhartha and he decides that he himself will be his own teacher and his own disciple. And with this awakening, he feels that as if there is a spring everywhere. He finds every leaf, every tree, every bird so fresh, so new to the life. He feels that everything was there so beautiful, but only he was not present. So when he got that awakening, that becomes the spring of his life. Now he leaves, and when he crosses that forest, there comes a river. And there he meets a boatman who takes him, who helps him to cross the river. And there is a small interaction between them. And when he crosses the river, he reaches at the garden of a dancer, a court dancer named Kamla, who is living a very lavish life. And she's moving around in her garden, and this Sherman, who is totally naked, dust in his hair, barefooted, he's standing in front of Kamla. He asks Kamla that please teach me the art of love. Be my guru of love. Kamla laughs. She says that I tend the visitors who have very heavy pockets. They have the best of dresses, shoes, and look at you. You are just a dirty, naked looking person. She says that look at you. You are so shabby looking person. But he says that what is the requirement of visiting you? She says that you need to have a lot of money, good clothes, shoes. He says that I have no problem. I can earn a lot of money. And Kamla says that what do you have? You have no possessions. He says that I have one very worthy possession. That is, I can think, I can wait, and I can fast. It means I can remain hungry for a very long duration. Somehow she gets impressed with his confidence, and she refers him to a trader whose name is Kamaswami. See, there are literary devices that even the names, they become symbolic. He meets here Kamla and Kamaswami. Both have the origin in the word calm. Calm is lust or even the pleasure of senses. So he meets Kamaswami and says that I need to earn money. He says, what do you have? He repeats the same lines. I can think, I can wait, and I can fast. He says, how this is going to be helpful for you? He says that because of this thing, I am far away from desperation. If time is not good for me, I can wait. If I have nothing, I can remain hungry. And more importantly, I have the capacity to think. So Kamaswami gives, rather he takes him as a partner in the business. So Siddhartha, he starts earning and starts meeting Kamla too. And there he says that, he tells Kamla that he is like a stone thrown in a river who reaches at the bed without any delay. And when he is clear about his goal, he is just like that stone thrown in the river. Now he has the goal to be rich, to be worthy of you. But Kamla, during one interaction, she says that you don't love anyone. Rather, you can't love anyone. Siddhartha asks that how do you know it? She says that you are too detached. You are, as you told, that you are just like a stone thrown in the riverbed. And even Siddhartha says that Kamla, even you can't love anyone. She says that how? He says that even for you, love is an art. You don't love for the sake of love, but for you, it is an art. So they keep meeting and he keeps earning. Then comes the next chapter, that is Sansar. In ancient era, this word is described as Sansar, which has a cyclic rotation. So Siddhartha, he gets engulfed in this vicious circle of worldliness, in this Sansar. Now he is earning, he is spending, and he is also taking liquor, gambling. He is fully immersed in Sansar. And with the passage of the time, his health starts getting deteriorated. He is no more what he used to say proudly, that I can think, I can wait and I can fast. His body starts becoming frail. He can no more think clearly. He can no more wait. He is getting impatient. And he can never fast because he is always hungry. He is always want to have more and more. But ultimately he starts getting nausea. He starts getting fed up from this sansar too. He feels that even this world is not meant for me. He decides to leave. And Kamala, when he goes to meet her for the last time, Kamala says that I always knew that you would leave. So he leaves, but when he goes away, Kamala realizes that she is bearing the child of Siddhartha. And now Siddhartha, he reaches at the same river. He looks his reflection in the water. He looks himself as a very ugly looking, sick old man. He says that I have no hope to live further. He contemplates suicide. He thinks that at least I will be of some worth for the fish in the river. But when he is contemplating suicide, all of a sudden he listens one sound inside him. The sound is of Om. And he feels that he's getting some strength. Then he decides not to commit suicide and sleeps alongside a river under a tree. And he wakes up, he sees that a Buddhist monk is watching him. I'm mentioning this line because it contains great compassion. He asks Buddhist monk that, why are you sitting here? He says that I was protecting your sleep. See the subtlety of compassion. After that, Siddhartha, he decides to cross the river and he meets the same boatman. The boatman is also an old man, and Siddhartha feels that he has a very spiritual kind of aura. He is a man of very few words, but when he listens in such a manner that he has never seen such listening. Siddhartha gets very impressed with him and he begs that, please allow me to stay with you. I have nothing to do. He says that even I will help you in this rowing of the boat. And he starts staying with that old man. And the name of the old man is Vasudeva, which is the name of the creation. So Vasudeva becomes his ultimate guide, like a creation. Now he watches Vasudeva very minutely. He feels that while taking the traveler, they keep talking. But Vasudeva, he only listens very empathetically, completely. And Vasudeva doesn't speak a word, and people while talking to him, they even sometimes start weeping. So Vasudeva has that healing capacity. Actually, healing is all about listening. And Vasudeva teaches him a very important lesson. The lesson is listening to the river. Whenever Siddhartha is in doubt, he takes Siddhartha to the middle of the river and asks him to listen to the river. He says that this river is my guide, my God. And even Siddhartha, he starts listening to the river. And he feels that there is a great unity in river. He tells Vasudeva that I feel that River is a river in the beginning, in the middle, and even when it is meeting the ocean. So that is true about my life. When I was in village, or when I was a Sherman, or when I was in Sansar, or if I am here, I am the same Siddhartha. So he finds stability in him. And one day Kamala reaches there. Actually, she has become a follower of Buddha, and she has come to know that Buddha is about to die. And she wants to see him in his last days. So she needs to cross the river for reaching at Gautam Buddha. And she has one son with her. And he is around 11 or 12 years old, and he's a brat child. But unfortunately, Kamala gets bitten by a ferocious snake. And Vasudev, he helps her, he rescues her, and takes her to his hut, and there Siddhartha recognizes her. And Kamala recognizes Siddhartha. And she says that this child is your son. So it is again a life-turning event in the life of Siddhartha. Kamala dies. Now, Siddhartha, he gets obsessed with his son. But son, he hates his father, his mother, or when he actually needed father, then Siddhartha was not there. So he hates everything about Siddhartha, even his spirituality. And one day, his son runs away. Siddhartha is shattered. Now, Siddhartha, whenever he sees an ordinary person carrying his or her child in his or her lap, he becomes jealous. He feels that he has been always proud of his spirituality, of being an intellect, of being a Brahman, Sherman, a successful businessman, a lover. And above all, he was always proud of his spirituality. He always considered ordinary person as very ordinary. But now he feels that his hands are empty. And this ordinary looking persons, they are far richer than him, far more enlightened than him. And when he gets too depressed, Vasudev takes him to the middle of the river and asks him to listen to the waves, to the river. When Siddhartha listens, do you know what does he hear? His wailing father, his father weeping. He realizes that one day I left my father and never bothered that how much his father missed him. And now the same thing happened with him. Vasudev says that listen it more intentively. And when he listens, he realizes that the whole humanity is weeping. The whole humanity is just following one journey, that is desire and seeking. He says this mad rush in the humanity. He listens to the different sounds. Some are laughing, some are weeping. And when he listens more attentively, he listens that all sounds, they are synchronizing. They are becoming the one sound. And that sound becomes Om. And when he listens to that sound Om, he again gets some strength. He again understands everything. He again understands the futility of his journey. But he also understands that We human beings are meant to be like that only. He sees himself as a part of a greater cosmic play, a part of whole humanity. That brings catharsis in him. And when Vasudev, he sees that enlightenment on the face of Siddhartha, he says that I was waiting for this day, and now my end has come, so I am leaving. And Siddhartha, he says that old Vasudev, he is leaving to the dense forest, but there is a glow, there is a stability in his walk, as if a very spiritual soul is moving away. After that, Siddhartha, he becomes a boatman, and one day Govind, his childhood friend, he meets him. And Govind asks that I want to know that what have you learned in your life? Because I know that you have undergone several turmoils, you have experienced different phases of life. So what is your ultimate knowledge? And Siddhartha says very beautiful line. He says that only knowledge can be communicated, but not the wisdom, not the experience. If you want to know, if you want to experience, then you have to experience it yourself. He says that the greatest teacher that he met was Vasudeva, who learned from nature, who learned from river. And he brought unity. He removed all chaos within the Siddhartha. He settled down everything within the Siddhartha. He says that Vasudeva was the ultimate teacher, who brought unity and eternal peace within him. But unfortunately, these are the last words of Siddhartha. He dies, and novel ends. But this novel ends with a great message. A message is that human life is like that only. It is like a flowing river. It has to be always in movement, but there has to be a stability in that moment. Through river or through nature, we can understand the cosmic play which is being played in the whole of humanity. Our spirituality is to know, to realize what is actually within us, to realize that we are not different. We have to undertake long journeys to reach within us. We have to experience lot many of things to experience what is within us. So in this way, it was journey of a doubt-ridden, non-believer spiritual, who with his trials, with his error and rectifications, with his honesty and authenticity about his doubts and flaws, ultimately attains the ultimate peace, ultimately experience the experience of enlightenment. With these words, I conclude this episode here. Thank you.